The joy of Sarah. In days long ago, there was a woman named Sarah. Her life was filled with many quiet moments, and sometimes moments of waiting. Sarah lived in a time when people moved with their tents, reaching different places under wide skies. She and her husband, Abraham, traveled together, sharing their days and dreams. Sarah was known for her gentle spirit and her soft laughter. Yet there was something she hoped for deeply, something that seemed just beyond reach. She wished to be a mother. Many years passed, and Sarah watched other families grow. She saw children playing and heard their cheerful noises in the distance. Sometimes, a quiet longing filled her heart. One evening, as Sarah and Abraham sat outside their tent under the sparkling stars, a visitor came. The visitor was kind and spoke with a gentle voice, bringing a message that was both surprising and tender. The visitor told them that Sarah would have a son. Abraham listened carefully, his eyes wide with wonder. Sarah too heard the words, but she smiled softly, with a mixture of hope and doubt. For Sarah and Abraham were both very old, and they had waited many years. Time passed. The moments were slow, like the gentle flow of a calm river. Sarah thought about the promise she had heard. Sometimes she would touch her belly, imagining a little child growing there. At other times she whispered prayers to the quiet night, holding on to hope. Then one day a wonderful thing happened. Just as the visitor had said, Sarah did have a son. His name was Isaac, which means laughter. When she held him in her arms, a joyful laugh escaped her lips, a laugh full of surprise and happiness. The joy was soft and deep, like the warmth of a gentle sunrise. Sarah's laughter was not just about the child she had longed for, but it was also a laugh of fulfillment, a laugh that carried the story of waiting, hope, and dreams coming true. This baby boy was a new chapter in Sarah's life, a quiet blessing that filled the tent with light. As the days went by, Sarah cared for Isaac with tenderness. Each smile, each coo, was a new sound in her peaceful world. The family grew together, wrapped in gentle love and quiet joy. Sarah's story reminds us of the quiet strength found in hope and waiting. It shows the tender moments when joy blooms softly, like a flower waking to morning light. And so Sarah's life, filled with patient waiting, was touched by a gentle, lasting joy, one that would be remembered for many years, whispered softly through the winds of time. In the gentle light of dawn, Sarah's world began to change more deeply than she had ever imagined. Isaac's soft breathing was a song that filled the tent with a new sense of peace. Each day, as Abraham folded the tent flaps open, revealing endless horizons, their life carried the familiar rhythm of the nomad's path. Sarah's hands, once so accustomed to the fabric of the tents and the grain of the land, now moved with a tender purpose. Cradling Isaac close, she would hum quiet melodies, a soft breath of song that seemed to weave through the air, bending around the silence that once had settled in her heart. The sound was delicate, enchanting. The laughter she had longed for now breathed beside her. Abraham, too, found a new strength in his steps. Where his eyes had once been clouded with the weariness of waiting, they now shone with a quiet pride. He often watched Sarah and Isaac together, the two of them cocooned in a tender world of their own. There was a stillness to those moments, like the hush that comes just before twilight, when everything seems to hold its breath in wonder. The tent filled with small joys, the warmth of Isaac's tiny hands gripping Sarah's fingers, the soft rustle of fabric as she shifted to comfort him, the way Abraham would smile, gently touching Isaac's cheek, as if tracing the gentle contours of a dream come true. Each gesture was a thread, weaving the fabric of family, strong and delicate at once. Sarah found herself drawn out into the open spaces with Isaac. Wrapped carefully in a shawl, he nestled against her breast, absorbing the warmth of his mother's body and the steady beat of her loving heart. Beneath the vast blue sky, they shared quiet moments, watching the slow dance of clouds, feeling the soft caress of the breeze, the steady pulse of the earth beneath their feet. The seasons began to turn around them. The sun climbed higher, then arced through the sky on its journey to rest beyond the hills. Days stretched and contracted like the gentle rise and fall of a breath. Each moment seemed both fleeting and eternal. Sarah felt it deeply, the miracle of time itself, unfolding gracefully with Isaac there to witness it. With each new day, Isaac grew stronger. His laughter, light and clear like the tinkling of small bells, began to echo beyond the tent walls. It mingled with the crispness of morning air and the murmur of evening winds. Passers-by, familiar with Sarah's gentle spirit, paused a little longer by their campfire, smiling to hear the sound that had once been only a promise whispered in the quiet of the night. Sarah's heart, once heavy with longing, now pulsed with an overflowing well of love. She watched Isaac with wonder, memorizing every small detail, the curl of his eyelashes, the softness of his breath, the way his fingers curled as he reached out to touch a flower or stone. She felt as if time had slowed, allowing her to cherish every fleeting second. Abraham became a storyteller beneath the stars. He spoke aloud of journeys past, of promises made and kept, of the winds that carried their paths and the stars that guided their steps. Isaac, growing curious and wide-eyed, listened intently. Sarah sat by, a quiet smile lighting her face, feeling the holy hush of family tales spun under a canvas of endless night. Evenings were filled with the gentle crackle of firelight and the whisper of shared dreams. Sarah and Abraham would talk softly about hopes for Isaac's future and the ways the world was shifting beyond their nomadic path. Yet no matter where their words wandered, the present stayed rooted in the peaceful now, the warmth of their small home, their hearts entwined. As Isaac learned to crawl, then walk, every new movement was a celebration. Sarah's hands, ever steady and sure, guided him gently. Laughter sparkled in her eyes, a reflection of the miracle she had lived through. Abraham, steady as the earth beneath them, lifted Isaac high into the sky, his voice a quiet song of joy and gratitude. Life stretched before them, open and wide as the skies under which they roamed. Sarah found in each day a new blessing, a moment to breathe deeply, to give thanks, to simply be. The waiting, no longer a shadow, became a distant memory, softened by the glow of Isaac's smile and the rhythm of their shared days. The small tent, once simply a shelter, was now the heart of their world. It held laughter, love, and the quiet strength Sarah had always carried within her. There, beneath the sky's vast expanse, their family grew, not just in number, but in the invisible threads of connection that bind souls together. Sarah's laughter, once a fragile wish, had blossomed fully. It mingled with the sounds of the earth, the rustling grass, the gentle river's song, the calls of distant birds. It was a testament to patience, to faith, and to the quiet miracle of life given and received. And so, in the endless expanse of the wilderness, Sarah's joy became a light, a steady flame against the night, a soft promise echoing in the wind. She held Isaac close, feeling the pulse of life steady and sure beneath her hand, and knew deep in her heart that she had become all she had ever hoped to be. Under the wide and watchful sky, their story continued, not as a tale of longing, but as one of fulfillment, of the sacred dance between hope and grace, forever carried on the breath of the desert wind. As the days moved steadily forward, a gentle rhythm settled over their little family. The desert's wide embrace cradled them in a quiet serenity that felt almost sacred. Each morning Sarah would rise to the pale light of dawn, the coolness of the air still lingering like a soft caress. She would cup Isaac's tiny hand in hers, marveling anew at the life her love and patience had nurtured. Isaac's eyes, bright and curious, reflected the awakening world around him. His gaze followed the slow dance of the golden sands, the fluttering wings of desert birds, and the subtle sway of wild grasses, whispering secrets to the soft breeze. With every new sight came a fresh moment of wonder, his infant mind piecing together the puzzle of existence, one delighted discovery at a time. Sarah's own heart echoed this sense of unfolding possibility. The weight of past trials seemed ever lighter beneath the warmth of their shared days. She felt her spirit growing tenderly with Isaac's, stretched and deepened by the quiet intimacy of mother and child, weaving their future together. Abraham's presence added steady comfort, his broad hands always ready to hold or soothe, his unwavering devotion a steady flame amid shifting sands. The heat of midday brought a lull. Isaac, now more accustomed to the sudden bursts of sunlight, often stirred gently in his makeshift cradle beneath the tent's shade. Sarah would sit nearby, her voice low and soothing. She whispered stories, that carried the soft cadence of ancient times, tales Abraham had shared under the stars, words that built invisible bridges between past and present. Those stories, filled with courage and hope, became Isaac's first lullabies. With each passing week, Isaac's strength blossomed. His first attempts to pull himself upward filled their tent with hesitant but determined energy. A sudden grin from him sparked a warmth in Sarah's chest that spread out, touching every corner of their shared space. Abraham would smile proudly, helping where he could, careful with every movement, so as not to disturb the tender balance of those early actions. They marked these small victories with quiet celebration. A gentle clap, a soft word of encouragement, the feeling of fingers intertwined in trust. The desert witnessed these moments of growth, holding them like precious jewels in its endless expanse. Sarah's laughter, now more frequent and clear, carried the gentle melody of contentment, mingling with the sigh of wind through the dunes. As Isaac's range broadened, so did the world they explored together. Sarah carried him out beyond the tent, where the landscape stretched wide and welcoming. He reached out to touch the rough bark of an acacia tree. His fingers brushed against the smooth curve of a stone worn by time. Each texture, each sound opened a new door to discovery, his mind leaping eagerly ahead. Abraham often joined them, steady and watchful. When Isaac took his first unsteady steps upon the warm earth, Abraham's hands sheltered him, steady and sure. The triumphant laughter that rang out in that moment permeated the still desert air. Sarah's eyes shone with tears of gratitude. Life, she thought, was endlessly miraculous. Evenings sank softly into night, their sky a tapestry of stars shining so clearly it felt as if the heavens could be touched. Around a modest fire they gathered, Sarah, Isaac, and Abraham. The crackling flames threw dancing shadows across their faces as they spoke in hushed tones. Abraham's voice would recount the lineage and lessons of their ancestors, interwoven with hopes for Isaac's future. Isaac, now cradled in Sarah's arms, listened wide-eyed and silent, as if the stories themselves were as vital as the air they breathed. In those moments, she felt the strong thread of legacy connecting all living things, past, present, and future, tightly knotted in the love that surrounded them. The tent had transformed completely. No longer just a shelter, it was a sanctuary filled with light, laughter, and the tender imprints of family. The simple fabrics fluttered softly with the evening breeze, the ground beneath cushioned with warmth, and the scent of fresh herbs Sarah had gathered during their outings. Sarah often reflected on this transformation with quiet awe, the waiting, the uncertainty, the sleepless nights and fervent prayers, all of it had led here, to this place of fulfillment, of quiet grace. She found a new kind of strength within herself, soft but unyielding, a wellspring of patience and faith that nourished every breath. As Isaac grew more confident in his movements, crawling swiftly and then toddling with a tentative wobble, Sarah and Abraham took turns guiding his steps. Every stumble was met with gentle support, each success greeted with joyful celebration. Their voices mingled, laughter, encouragement, the quiet hum of lullabies, and the desert held their music as a sacred song. The world outside continued its endless turning. Seasons shifted, imperceptibly first, then distinctly, a shift from sun-drenched days to cooler evenings, from the soft touch of spring to the harsher breath of summer. Yet within the circle of their home, time felt more like a flowing river than a relentless march. Each moment was savored, each breath a blessing. The days grew longer, sunlight painting the sands in golden hues that shimmered like liquid warmth. Sarah watched Isaac mimic the gestures he saw around him, the way Abraham raised his hand in greeting, how she herself would smile tenderly and stroke a lock of hair. These small imitations delighted her deeply, a sign that their love and lessons were taking root. One afternoon, as a gentle wind carried the scent of blooming desert flowers, Isaac's laughter erupted anew, pure, unbridled joy that filled the space between sky and earth. Sarah felt tears well up again, but this time they were tears of deep, abiding happiness. Her heart swelled with a fullness that words could never capture. Abraham, sitting nearby, looked across at her and Isaac with a quiet smile. "Our son," he said softly, "the light of our days." His words were simple, but held a world of meaning, wrapping around them like a warm cloak. Sarah nodded, her eyes meeting Abraham's. In those shared glances lay a promise to nurture this life, to face whatever may come with open hearts, and to hold their family tightly within the embrace of love's enduring strength. The tent glowed gently in the evening light, the air filled with the scent of earth and the soft sounds of life unfolding. Isaac, now drowsy from the day's adventures, nestled into Sarah's arms once more, her voice lowered into a tender whisper as she sang the songs of their people, the melodies weaving a thread of peace through the quiet night. Outside, the desert stretched endless and vast, cradling the story of Sarah, Abraham, and Isaac, a story not just of survival, but of thriving, of love blossoming in the heart of the wilderness. As night deepened, stars blazed brighter, the vast sky a silent witness to their journey. In the gentle dark, Sarah felt the fullness of the moment, years of longing, waiting, and hope, distilled into this breath, this heartbeat shared with Isaac and Abraham. Her laughter, once fragile and tentative, now flowed freely, a living symbol of endurance, grace, and the joyous miracle of life itself. And so their days passed, each one carrying the quiet promise of tomorrow, each moment a step along the winding path of their shared destiny. The joy of Sarah, wrapped in the warmth of her family, whispered softly across the desert winds, a timeless song of hope and love that would carry on long after the stars had faded into the dawn. The soft glow of dawn crept through the fabric of the tent, casting a gentle light that stirred Sarah awake. The air held a quiet stillness, a pause between night and day that felt sacred. Isaac lay beside her, eyes fluttering open, his small fingers curling around hers. His breath came slow and steady, a rhythm that echoed the deep, unspoken peace settling in her heart. Sarah smiled softly, her eyes tracing the curve of Isaac's face. This, she thought, was a treasure more precious than any riches of the earth. She leaned forward to brush a wisp of hair from his forehead, her touch light and reverent, as if she could shield him from every worry the world might hold. Abraham stirred next to her, his presence a quiet comfort after all these years of uncertainty. His hand found hers, fingers intertwining with a familiar tenderness. Together they watched Isaac awake, the small dawn of his life, mirroring the morning sun's rise beyond the sands. The day unfolded slowly, a gentle rhythm of light and warmth. Sarah prepared a simple meal, her movements practiced, yet infused with care. Isaac's laughter bubbled as he reached for the small pieces of bread, his little hands exploring the textures with bright curiosity. Abraham joined them, his voice steady and kind as he reminded Isaac how the world was a place to be loved and learned from at every turn. Outside, the desert whispered its age-old song, the soft sigh of wind through shifting dunes, the distant call of birds greeting the sun. The landscape, vast and unyielding, seemed almost to bow in acknowledgement of the life thriving within their humble shelter. Sarah's thoughts wandered to the past, the long seasons of waiting, the nights when hope flickered like a fragile flame, almost lost to despair. Yet here, now, enveloped by the love of her family, those shadows felt distant, softened by the light of this new morning. Isaac's steps grew steadier as he toddled toward Abraham, uttering the first small sounds that would one day form words. Abraham caught him with a pleased laugh, lifting him high before setting him down again, the movement filled with jubilant affirmation. The joy in the tent was neither hurried nor loud, but steady and deep, like the roots of the palm trees that grew nearby, strong against the sweep of desert winds. As the sun arced higher, Sarah wrapped Isaac in a soft cloth and stepped outside. The warmth on her skin was gentle, neither harsh nor biting, as she guided Isaac's fingers to the sun-warmed stones at their feet. Small lessons blossomed in moments like these, how the world felt, how the quiet earth held stories beneath its surface, waiting to be touched. Returning inside, Sarah sat quietly, her gaze resting on Abraham, who was tending to a small fire. Their eyes met across the room, a silent exchange that spoke more than words could carry. They understood the depth of this shared journey, the challenges faced, the prayers whispered, the unshakable faith carried forward, even when the path was unclear. Evening came soft and cool, wrapped in hues of pink and orange, fading into a velvet indigo. Sarah held Isaac close as she hummed a new lullaby, a melody born from the rhythm of their days and the gentle wind that sang through the desert grass. Isaac's eyelids fluttered, Comforted by the calming sound, his tiny body relaxed against her heart. Abraham joined them, his voice low and reverent, as he added a prayer for protection and peace. The three of them sat in a circle of love, the tent their sanctuary, the desert their testament to endurance and hope. Later, as Isaac finally slipped into deep sleep, Sarah looked out through the tent's opening. The stars shone with an almost tangible brightness, scattered gems across the vast sky. She thought of the countless journeys those stars had witnessed, the silent promises they held for all who looked upward with hope. Her hand found Abraham's once more, and together they breathed in the quiet strength of the night. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new joys, new steps for Isaac to take. But tonight, there was only the peace of the present, the joy of family growing steadily stronger under the endless desert sky. Sarah closed her eyes, a contented smile resting on her lips. Here, in the stillness, she felt the true meaning of grace, unfolding gently, moment by moment, like the dawn that had started their day. The joy she carried was boundless, a light that would guide them through all seasons to come. The dawn crept gently into their tent, spilling soft light across the worn mats and the sleeping forms of the small family. Isaac stirred once more, the quiet hum of morning distant but growing. Sarah, already awake, lifted her child carefully into her arms. His eyes blinked open slowly, innocence and wonder meeting the soft rays of day. Outside, the desert greeted them with a gentle breeze, warm and whispering promises of a new season. Abraham stood nearby, his sturdy frame outlined against the horizon where earth and sky touched. The faint murmur of a nearby brook provided a soothing backdrop to this fragile moment of peace. Isaac's tiny fingers curled around Sarah's hand with a newfound strength, eager to explore the world that had been patiently waiting for him. His laughter, light and pure, seemed to harmonize perfectly with the song of the morning wind. Sarah smiled, her heart swelling with a boundless gratitude. They moved together slowly, savoring each breath and heartbeat. Abraham fetched a basin of cool water, and the ritual of washing became a shared act of kindness. Isaac gurgled with delight, droplets sparkling on his soft skin like morning dew. Sarah hummed a gentle tune, a melody passed down through countless generations, wrapping their small circle in a cocoon of love. As Isaac learned to sit upright, his curious eyes met the steady gaze of his father. But now they seemed tender, his touch a quiet promise to protect and nurture. The bond between them was unspoken yet deeply felt, a thread woven into the fabric of their life. Breakfast was humble, fresh bread, figs, and the small sweetness of honey gathered from nearby hives. They ate slowly, each bite a comforting reminder of providence, a blessing earned through patience and faith. Isaac clumsily reached for the bread, spreading crumbs like tiny gifts on the floor. Sarah laughed softly, scooping him into her lap, as Abraham looked on with quiet affection. With the day fully awake around them, Sarah decided to teach Isaac about the shapes and colors visible through the tent's opening. She pointed to the golden sand, the clear blue sky, and the vibrant green of scattered shrubs. Each new word and image was a stepping stone, a window to the vast world waiting beyond their sanctuary. Abraham picked up a stick and began tracing simple lines in the sand, drawing images of animals and stars. Isaac watched, captivated, his small fingers attempting to mimic the gestures. Their moments of learning and play drifted seamlessly into the afternoon's warmth. Sarah prepared a thin soup, stirring it gently over the small fire. As the aroma filled their haven, the family settled closer, sharing stories told in silent glances and comforting touches. Evening began to paint the landscape in muted hues. The sun, now a tender ember, lowered itself behind far dunes. The family gathered once again, wrapped in blankets, voices lowered in prayer for continued health and protection. The stars emerged, twinkling like 1,000 watchful eyes, blessing their little world. Isaac lay nestled between Sarah and Abraham, his breaths deep and even, the peaceful rhythm of sleep a balm to their souls. The flicker of the firelight danced upon the tent's walls as Sarah's fingers traced gentle patterns on her son's cheek. Before sleep claimed her as well, Sarah slipped outside the tent, embracing the cool night air. She raised her face toward the constellation of stars, whispering a quiet thanks for this gift of life, of family, of hope. Somewhere in the vastness, she felt an answer, a kind reassurance that they were not alone. Returning inside, Sarah found Abraham already resting, his steady presence a fortress against the shifting sands of uncertainty. Together they watched over Isaac, guardians of a precious future. As the night deepened, the desert hushed into a profound silence, broken only by the faint track of a distant owl's call and the gentle stirrings of their sleeping child. The joy that had blossomed with Isaac's first breath now covered them like a soft blanket, warm and enduring. Tomorrow they would face whatever challenges might come, together. But for now, in this sacred moment, the gentle rhythm of family and love filled every corner of their world, promising strength and peace beyond all measure. Morning light softened the world again, spilling through the trees and casting delicate patterns across the small clearing where Abraham, Sarah, and Isaac had slept. The gentle rustling of leaves mingled with distant birdsong, a quiet welcome to a new day that held nothing but calm. Isaac stirred first, his small fingers brushing against the woven blanket beneath him. His eyes blinked open slowly, curiosity already sparking in their depths. The sight of his mother's soft smile drew him fully awake, and a low giggle bubbled from his throat as she reached to pick him up. Sarah's touch was gentle and sure, as always. Holding Isaac close, she swayed slightly, humming a tune that Abraham recognized from their earliest days together. It was a melody of home, simple, steady, meant to soothe and to bind. Abraham stirred beside them, stretching limbs that still carried the remnants of sleep. His voice, deep and warm, greeted them both. "Good morning, little one," he said quietly, leaning forward to kiss Isaac's forehead. Isaac's laughter came easily, a pure sound that made the chest of his father rise with happiness. It was a joy neither Sarah nor Abraham could have imagined before he arrived, a light that filled the space between them, shimmering and steady. Sarah set Isaac down on a soft patch of grass, where wildflowers nodded in the breeze. She pointed to each one in turn, bright yellows, soft purples, tiny blues, and spoke the name slowly, as if teaching the world itself to him. Isaac's fingers reached out, brushing petals and leaves, his lips parting in delighted wonder. Abraham gathered smooth stones from nearby. Placing them in a circle, he drew a rough shape in the dirt, a star with wide-reaching arms. Isaac's eyes followed the movement, his fingers imitating the lines, tracing loops in the air. Abraham chuckled, pleased by the boy's attention. The morning slid quietly toward noon, the warmth of the sun unfolding around the family like a blessing. Sarah moved to the small fire they kept alive, stirring a simple stew of lentils and herbs. The aroma mingled with fresh earth and growing grass, stirring memory and comfort. Isaac sat between his parents, tiny hands clapping, when his mother lifted a spoonful to his mouth. The flavors were gentle, warm as her love. His smiles encouraged her to feed him slowly, savoring the moment without rush. Abraham watched them, his mind at peace despite the unspoken worries of the wider world beyond their clearing. Here, in this pocket of calm, nothing threatened the tender threads that bound their family. After the meal, the three of them wandered together toward the edge of the forest. Sarah lifted Isaac into her arms, showing him the tall trees that whispered with the wind, their leaves shimmering like liquid emeralds. She named the animals, deer, rabbit, and fox, that occasionally skittered through the underbrush. Isaac's eyes grew wide as Abraham knelt beside them and began to draw yet again in the soft soil. This time, the lines curved to form the shape of a deer, delicate and poised. Isaac's little hands tried to mimic, the lines less sure but full of intention. Sarah laid a leafy branch on the ground, and Abraham placed smooth stones atop the leaves, creating patterns that caught the sunlight. This is our world, and we learn each day what it holds. Isaac turned to both of them, sensing the weight and wonder in those words, even if he did not understand fully. His small heart beat steadily in the quiet afternoon, tethered by love and the endless sky. As shadows lengthened, the family returned to their shelter, carrying bundles of firewood and dried herbs. The evening air cooled slowly, inviting them to gather close once more. Sarah wrapped Isaac in a soft cloth, humming the melody from the morning. Abraham's hands moved about efficiently, building the small fire with practiced ease. The flames flickered and cast playful shadows on their faces. They shared bread and olives by firelight, the meal humble yet rich with meaning. Isaac's laughter rose again, a bright thread weaving through the twilight as Sarah traced the shapes of the moon and stars on his soft skin. When the time came, the family knelt together. Sarah's voice rose gently in prayer, words of gratitude, protection, and hope for the days ahead. Abraham joined in, his presence steady, their hearts aligned in silent strength. Isaac's eyes grew heavy and finally closed, the steady rhythm of his breath blending seamlessly with the night's soft chorus. Sarah leaned back against the trunk of a tree, Abraham's arm around her shoulders, and together they watched the stars bloom across the dark velvet sky. Under that vast expanse, the worries that rested beyond their small world felt distant and quiet. Here, surrounded by love and the simple miracles of a new day, they found sufficiency, a sacred peace to carry them forward. The night held them gently, as it always had and always would. Night deepened softly around their little clearing. The fire's warmth curled low, flickering against the gentle sounds of the forest settling into darkness. Abraham's quiet breath mingled with Sarah's, each steady and calm. Isaac slept in his small bed of woven grass and cloth nearby, his tiny chest rising and falling in rhythm with the night. Sarah wrapped a fleece gently around herself and leaned into Abraham's shoulder. "The earth feels different under the stars," she whispered, "ancient but somehow kind tonight." Abraham nodded slowly. "It listens, as though all our words, all our lessons are carried up and across the sky." His dark eyes searched the glittering constellations, pausing on the star shapes he had traced with Isaac that evening. "The ones we show him now, they will guide him in ways we cannot see yet, Sarah." She smiled faintly. "He will carry this light even when the world outside this clearing grows louder, harsher. Our hope blooms in him, just like the wildflowers he touched today." A soft rustle brought their attention to the edge of the clearing. Isaac murmured quietly, eyes half opening in the safe glow of the firelight. Sarah reached out and cradled his small hand. "You are safe here, little one," she crooned. "Always safe, no matter where you wander in your dreams." The child's lips twitched into a faint smile, and he snuggled closer, easing back into sleep. Abraham watched them both, his heart full but pensive. The quiet weight of what might come beyond their clearing pressed gently on his mind. But here, with his family wrapped around the growing fire, that worry softened. Sarah's voice dropped to a tranquil hum, taking the moment in. "Tomorrow we will gather more herbs. I want to teach Isaac which ones to touch carefully and which to leave be. The land has its lessons, many of them quiet, but all important." Abraham nodded. "Yes, and I will draw the shapes he needs to know, the lines of the trees, the shapes of the animals. They are a language, Sarah, speaking without words." They lingered beneath the vast sky, the crisp night air a tender cloak, all held within the soft glow of fire and family. Isaac's breath even through sleep, peaceful and deep. The stars wheeled slowly overhead, constant watchers in the darkness. Their ancient light traced patterns onto the earth, weaving moments into memories. Sarah finally rose, brushing leaves from her lap. "It is time to rest, Abraham. The day's stories have been told. Tomorrow brings new ones, whispered from the stones, the soil, and the wind." He stood beside her, strong and silent. "Together," he said simply, "always together." As they settled back into the quiet of night, the world beyond the clearing remained still for now, as if holding its breath. Inside their small world of warmth and light, a gentle joy anchored all their hearts, and the stars looked on with a patient, endless love. The morning sun filtered softly through the leaves, casting gentle patterns across the clearing where the family had slept. Isaac stirred, blinking away the remnants of dreams, greeted by the tender warmth of Sarah's smile as she brushed a stray leaf from his hair. Abraham's quiet presence beside them reminded Isaac that the world held kindness, even in small, simple moments like these. The air was calm, filled with the faint chorus of morning bird song weaving through the branches overhead. Sarah lifted a cup of cool water, offering it carefully to Isaac. His tiny hands grasped it with growing eagerness, the liquid refreshing and pure. Around them, the steady rhythm of the forest whispered comfort and continuity. Sarah's voice was soft when she spoke to Isaac about the herbs they would gather that day. "See the leaves here," she said, pointing gently to a cluster of bright green. "This is mint, sweet and clear. It will soothe your tongue if it ever feels rough or tired." Isaac nodded, eyes wide with wonder. Each plant they discussed felt like a secret gift from the earth, a language made of shapes and scents, waiting for him to learn. Abraham, moving with quiet confidence, guided Isaac through the art of reading the forest. He pointed to the twisted bark on an ancient oak, tracing the patterns like a map. These, he said, are stories written by time itself. Look closely, and you will see paths animals have made, the shape of clouds captured in the bark. Isaac's small fingers imitated his father's, touching the rough surface with reverence. The forest was a living book, and they were the first to read its opening lines each morning. Sarah's hands moved with gentle care as she showed Isaac the difference between herbs that healed and those that warned. She lifted a sprig of lavender, letting its scent linger between them. This will calm your mind when worries come. Like the night sky wraps us in stars. Isaac breathed in deeply and smiled, feeling the quiet magic of the moment. Their footsteps were soft on the mossy earth, mingling with the distant rustle of leaves. The day leaned into a steady rhythm. Pause, learn, breathe. Abraham spoke little, but when he did, his voice was a steady current beneath their shared exploration. He told Isaac about how the trees whispered to one another through roots hidden beneath the soil, a secret language of life woven beneath their feet. At midday they rested by a gentle brook, the water clear enough to see the pebbles resting on its bed. Sarah dipped her fingers, then cupped water to Isaac's lips. Together, they watched the ripples shimmer in sunlight, each one a tiny dance reflecting the world's ongoing breath. Isaac's attention drifted to a group of butterflies gathering nearby, their wings flickering like fragments of sunlight. Sarah whispered names to him: blue morphos, painted ladies, creatures that carried stories across the seasons, delicate travelers on invisible pathways. As afternoon stretched, Abraham showed Isaac how to weave simple baskets from supple reeds, their fingers intertwining the strands with care. The curved walls of the basket grew slowly, steady and sure, a vessel to carry the gifts of the earth home. Isaac's small hands learned patience in the weaving, understanding that each gentle motion shaped something useful and beautiful. The fire from the night before had burned low, the ashes cooling into soft gray powder. As evening approached, Sarah gathered dry twigs and leaves, their crackle and pop promising warmth and comfort. The family settled close, the flickering flames dancing across their faces in quiet celebration of time spent together. Sarah wrapped a tender arm around Isaac as he leaned into her side. Abraham's hand rested lightly on Sarah's shoulder, a silent thread stitching them together. The gentle firelight painted their shadows on the trees, long and swaying in the breeze. Sarah's voice, low and steady, began to weave a tale for Isaac's growing world, a story not from books, but born from the land around them. Once, before people walked this clearing, she said, the earth was filled with giants made of stone and tree. They watched the stars and learned the language of the wind. They lived simply, honoring the sky above and the roots beneath, teaching the creatures how to live gently with one another. Isaac's eyelids grew heavy as her words washed over him, the soft cadence rapping like a lullaby beneath the canopy of stars soon to reappear. Abraham's gaze lifted to the emerging constellations, the silent guardians of their small family. The night deepened around the clearing like a protective shroud. The fire's glow softened, embers pulsing like quiet heartbeats. Isaac lay nestled between Sarah and Abraham, the stillness of the moment, a balm after the busy day. Sarah whispered again, the earth remembers every kindness, every story told beneath the stars. We are part of this ancient song, you and I and your father. Remember this, little one, that you are always held by the land and the sky, by love and by the breath of the world. Isaac's breathing slowed, relaxed, and even. He drifted into sleep, cradled by the soft echo of those words. Sarah and Abraham exchanged a knowing glance, a shared promise in silence. The earth's gentle strength and the guiding stars would walk with Isaac, nurturing his steps as he grew. In that quiet clearing, beneath a sky that held every dawn and every dream, the family rested once more, wrapped in the joy of simple love and the trust of endless tomorrows. The first light of dawn slipped quietly through the leaves, a gentle touch upon the sleeping forest. A soft mist lingered low over the earth, curling around roots and stones like a whispered secret. Isaac stirred, his breath mingling with the cool morning air, and the tender warmth of the campfire's last embers faded into embers of memory. The forest greeted the new day with a chorus of bird calls, each note ringing clear and true, a soft lullaby for waking souls. Sarah was already awake, brushing stray threads of hair from her face as she moved with practiced grace. Her hands gathered fresh twigs, careful not to disturb the delicate ferns that carpeted the forest floor. She kindled a small flame, coaxing it with patient breaths until a gentle fire bloomed among the stones. The flickering light painted her features soft and golden, a quiet ceremony ushering in the morning. Abraham stirred beside her, his eyes crinkled with the peace of deep rest. He smiled at Sarah, then at Isaac, who had now opened his eyes to the softly glowing world. The three shared a silent greeting, wrapped in the unspoken bond of family and place. After a warm sip of water drawn from the brook, Sarah lifted a small basket filled with wild berries and crisp, freshly gathered greens. "Nature offers us her gifts," she said gently, "when we move with respect and gratitude." Isaac reached for a berry, its sweetness blooming on his tongue, a small celebration of the forest's bounty. The day stretched forward with gentle rhythm. Sarah led Isaac through patches of bellflowers and wild thyme, their colors vibrant against the deep greens. She taught him to listen closely, to the hum of bees, the rustle of leaves, the distant call of an unseen woodpecker tapping hollow rhythm into bark. Each sound was a thread woven into the rich tapestry of the forest song. Abraham's hands, rough and steady, gathered slender reeds by the water's edge. He showed Isaac the delicate craft of binding them just so, the reeds bending and entwining until a sturdy basket took shape beneath their touch. "Patience," he said softly, "is like the roots beneath the soil, quiet, strong, unseen, but holding everything together." Sarah watched them, a silent rhythm echoing in her heart. She remembered the story of ancient giants, the gentle earth dancers who moved with the pulse of the sky, and how the forest, too, carried ancient wisdom in its quiet ways. As the sun climbed higher, dappled light flickered across moss and stone. Isaac's fingers traced the veins of a leaf, the coarse feel of bark, the delicate wings of a moth settling briefly on his arm. Sarah guided his gaze to the horizon, where the forest met a sky brushed in pale blue and soft clouds. "They say the earth sings with every breath of wind," she murmured, "and each tree, rock, and stream has a voice, if we only listen." His eyes wide with wonder, Isaac breathed in the scent of pine and earth, the mingled perfume of wildflowers and morning dew. The world was alive, a cradle of stories and secrets waiting to be told. Time flowed gently onward, the afternoon slipping toward evening without rush or interruption. The family gathered again by the brook, where water whispered over smooth stones and the sun cast shimmering patterns across the ripples. Isaac knelt beside the water's edge, watching his fingers make tiny waves, marveling at how such a small motion could spread so far. Sarah smiled at Abraham, who was tracing circles in the dirt with a stick, drawing the trees' secret language beneath their feet. She felt the thread of love and belonging that wrapped around them all, as steady and sure as the earth beneath the sky. As golden light filtered through amber leaves, Sarah and Abraham led Isaac along a winding path to a quiet clearing carpeted with soft grass. The air was rich with the scent of wild honey and fresh pine. Here, Abraham knelt and laid a hand gently on Isaac's shoulder. "You are part of this world," he said, voice low and steady. "The earth's story lives in you, as it lives in every leaf and stone." Isaac looked up at the sky, feeling the warmth of the moment settle deep within him. The day's lessons whispered like wind through the treetops, a soft lullaby of growth and hope. When evening came, the campfire blossomed again, flickering against the darkening forest. Sarah's voice rose gently in song, a tender melody weaving through the night air, carrying the light of stars and the quiet heartbeat of the earth. Isaac lay close, his eyelids heavy, dreams already gathering like petals in the night. Sarah and Abraham sat side by side, their hearts full of silent promises and quiet joy. In the stillness of the forest night, they understood that the greatest gift they could give was the deep-rooted love of the land, the sacred bond of family, and the gentle hand of guidance, always ready to lift Isaac forward. As the embers glowed low and the moon traced silver paths between the branches, the forest held them close. A timeless embrace, the promise of tomorrow whispered softly on the breeze. The joy of Sarah, the love of Abraham, and the bright-eyed wonder of Isaac breathed together in a perfect moment, a chapter gently closing, yet ever ready to turn anew beneath the endless sky. The first light of dawn wove silver threads through the forest canopy, painting the world in soft hues of awakening. Sarah stepped quietly from the tent, her breath a whispered song among the ferns. The air was sweet with dew, each blade of grass holding droplets like scattered diamonds. Isaac stirred beside her, drawn by the gentle rustle and the promise of another day woven from nature's blessings. Together, they moved toward the edge of the brook, where water lapped softly at smooth stones. Sarah knelt, dipping her fingers into the cool flow. The liquid carried the forest stories, endless journeys from distant springs, the whispers of moss and roots beneath. Isaac hesitated for a moment, then placed his small hand beside hers. The chill sparked a new awareness, an invitation to belong more deeply. Sarah guided his hand along the smooth curves of stones partially submerged, inviting him to trace the worn paths shaped by water's patient caress. See how the river listens, Isaac. It answers every touch. If we watch closely, we learn to speak its language. Isaac's eyes shimmered with wonder. He listened to the gurgling secret the brook murmured, imagining the water's timeless voyage. Beside them, a pair of dragonflies hovered, their wings a delicate lattice catching light. Sarah smiled softly, encouraging her son to notice how even the smallest creatures lived in harmony here, each whispering life into the forest's vast poem. Later, Sarah's voice was like a gentle wind as she explained the cycles beneath the forest floor. Together they observed tiny seedlings breaking earth, their fragile green pushing toward daylight, hungry to join the chorus of life. Every whisper we hear, every leaf we touch, Sarah said, is part of a great dance. We are not separate. We are steps within this dance. Isaac knelt then, brushing the soil aside, to reveal insects weaving tunnels, roots coiling beneath like silent guardians. The earth was alive beneath his fingertips. His wonder echoed in the small, shining eyes of a beetle that paused to meet his gaze before scurrying back into secret shadows. Sarah's voice lowered to a hushed reverence. These lives care for the land as much as the sun and rain do. We too must care, gently, always. At midday they returned to the clearing, where Abraham patiently awaited. Today, his hands carried more reeds, supple yet strong. He smiled as Isaac approached, ready to share another lesson of patience and craft. The basket holds more than fruit or flowers, Abraham said slowly. It carries stories. Each weave is a word woven into the fabric of our days. Isaac watched carefully. Abraham's fingers bent reeds with a thoughtful rhythm, each one tucked and pulled with deliberate care. The soft scrape of reed against reed blended with the distant calls of birds. Sarah joined, her voice intertwining with Abraham's as they spoke of origins, how their people first learned from the forest, how every basket kept alive the memory of this land, the ancestors who walked before them. Isaac reached out to try his hand. His fingers trembled as he fumbled the reed, but Abraham's patient guidance steadied him. Patience, Abraham whispered, as if the word itself was a gentle spell. And respect. The forest teaches these to those who listen. The afternoon light changed as clouds drifted, casting moving shadows that danced across the woven basket cradle. Isaac sat quietly, his heart swelling with newfound understanding, weaving in his mind a deeper bond with the earth and those who protect it. As the sun began to lower, returning light to gold and amber, Sarah led Isaac deeper into the forest, toward a place where the air seemed filled with murmurs beyond words. The ancient giants, the towering trees Sarah had spoken of, stood silent and watchful. She laid a hand against the bark of a colossal cedar. They hold wisdom in their rings, secrets carried through centuries. Their strength is calm, steady, rooted in love for this land. Isaac pressed his palm against the rough surface, feeling the quiet pulse beneath the bark. It was as if the tree breathed through his hand, slow and enduring. He closed his eyes, sensing the ancient rhythm, a heartbeat older than time itself. They have seen seasons change, storms pass, and yet they remain. Like us, they grow, and through that growth they teach. Sarah's words were a soft chant, weaving a bridge between the child and the forest's deep soul. Isaac imagined the trees whispering stories to the stars, keeping memories safe in their towering trunks. The cool of evening settled slowly, and they joined Abraham once more by the fire, now a flickering heart in the dusk. Together, beneath a sky brushed by twilight's brush, the family shared quiet smiles. Sarah's gaze lingered on Isaac, who yawned and cuddled closer. the day's lessons nestling warmly within him. Abraham's voice, low and steady, carried the weight of generations as he spoke softly about the link that bound them all, to family, to earth, to the sky. We carry the forest inside us, Isaac, not just in memories, but in our breath, in our footsteps, in the gentle way we live. This is the gift we give, and the gift we receive. Sarah added, her voice a tender thread that pulled heart and mind together. You are part of a story much greater than one life. You are the future's promise. Isaac's eyelids fluttered closed as the night enfolded him, the crackle of the fire and the lullaby of the forest weaving a timeless blessing. In the quiet that followed, Sarah laid her hand upon Abraham's, no words needed. They shared a sacred recognition. Their gift was not just knowledge or tradition, but the deep, abiding joy of belonging. Night deepened, the forest a silent guardian of dreams, the family nestled within its embrace. The stars shimmered faintly, eternal witnesses to the dance of life unfolding quietly beneath ancient boughs. As sleep took Isaac fully, visions of light, leaf, and soft earth mingled with his breath, filling the air with promise, and the forest held them all, past, present, future, in a sanctuary of steady hope, where every heartbeat was a seed planted deep, destined to bloom.